Hi there, my name is Robbert and I'm a Sitecore Technology MVP from the Netherlands. In this video, I would like to show you how easy it is to get started with setting up a Sitecore 10.1 XP0 topology with Docker containers for your local workstation. There surely has been a lot of blog posts on Docker, a lot of videos, presentations on Sitecore Docker in the past year, but I haven't found one that just really simplified it. As I've looked onto Sitecore Slack, I noticed that more people find it a steep learning curve. In this video, we're going to quickly look at the installation guide for a developer workstation with containers and see how overwhelming it is. But in this video, I'm going to show you that the Sitecore container team has provided us with a lot of utilities and examples. We're going to make use of that and to really quickly set up an XP0 topology Sitecore instance running on Docker containers. Let's go. So here on dev.sitecore.net, and we can run the homepage here. Let's go into download here. So the Sitecore Experience Platform 10.1 has many installation options. One of them is Sitecore Container Deployments, of course, on-premise deployments, SIF deployments, Azure App Service deployments. But in this video, we're going to focus on Sitecore container deployments. So we should get the container deployment package first, and let's open up the installation guide download this one, the installation guide for the developer workstation with containers. Let's open this up in a new tab. Previously, you could download the zip file here. Now it actually goes to GitHub, and you need to find the right package there. So there's a little, it's a little bit more complicated right now. So let's open that up and let's switch to that container deployment package in the Sitecore GitHub repository. So in the container deployment repository, you can see all the releases here, and we have to scroll down to get the container deployment package for the XP0 for the Sitecore 10.1 version. This will contain Docker compose files as well as production Kubernetes files for XP0, XP1, and I guess XM1. So right click and save that link, save that zip file onto your file system. And I'm going to come back later on with this and make sure to open up the installation guide for a developer workstation with containers. So if we scroll down in this developer workstation with containers, it's 21 pages, and it goes through a lot of settings here, compose files. Of course, you need to have Docker Desktop for Windows installed. So in this video, I'm assuming that you have installed this and configured this for Windows containers. That's some basic. Make sure to actually stop all your IIS services and potentially Solar services that are running on these ports, because the Docker containers actually require these ports to communicate on them. Now, as you can see here, you have to do a lot of environment variables. We need the Sitecore license file, token, signing certificates, HTTPS certificates, adjusting Windows host files. Now, this might be pretty overwhelming if you look at all these things. So, yeah. So that is one overwhelming thing, I guess, to go through all of this. So. Luckily for us, Sitecore has provided some Docker examples which does all of these things, like compressing a license file and converting that to a base 64 string and using that in the starting up of the containers. It fills in all these environment variables that we need in order to run the containers and to actually download the images from the Sitecore Docker registry. So this might be overwhelming. We can totally skip this in this video, since I'm going to show you how easy we can actually set it up without even going into this. So I assume you downloaded this particular zip file, and yeah, that's it for now. I'm going to continue with another project called Docker Examples, and let's dive into that right now. So Sitecore provides another repository called Docker Examples, and this repository contains actually companion code to the Sitecore containers documentation, which could be found here on the doc.sitecore.com. And the getting started will actually get you started in up and running with Sitecore on Docker containers, and it contains script to actually initialize your environment variables, and also do a Docker compose up, and it contains basically everything to get an XP0 topology up and running. So what we're going to do is the default is at the moment the development branch. So let's clone this repository, and then let's clone it. I'm using Visual Source Tree to actually clone the repo. So let's clone it. Docker examples, and I'm going to put it on my C projects, Docker examples, and it's called Docker examples. So now let's clone it. As you can see, this is the master branch. On the remote, probably have the development. Okay, the master branch equals to the development branch. So that's merged in. Let's leave it at the master branch, and then take it from there. So as you can see here, we've downloaded that zip file from GitHub, and we need to extract that. So we're going to extract that to a directory here, and we need the Sitecore license file. So on this side, I'm using Total Commander, by the way. It's an awesome tool. We need to go into the getting started directory, and as you can see here, we have a couple of init scripts, a clean script to in the end clean out the data of your containers. And as you go in this zip file, we can see that we have Docker Compose files here and Kubernetes files. Kubernetes production, Docker Compose files are mainly for your local workstation, I guess, or maybe dev environment, test environment. So if you have certain versions of your Docker Compose files, I'm using this LTSC 2019 version, and we were going to set up this XP0 topology. So as you can see here, we're having similar files as here. So just to be sure, because I'm not 100% sure how updated this repository was, because Sitecore is maybe often released and this repository is not up to date yet. I'm going to copy over these files from the Sitecore zip package and overwrite them here. So we've updated these, as you can see, and if we look in source tree, we can probably, I don't know, we can maybe see, oh, there are some changes in here, as you can see. The Sitecore version was adjusted to 10.1 LTSC, where this repository still has it as 10.1.0. This seems to be seems to be the same, and this seems to be the same as well. So I'm not sure if this will run into any issues, but yeah, it might overrun it when we actually do the initialization of this. So let's continue now with our process, now that we copied over the files from the zip package onto these. So what is important for this init script is to, as we look, we actually need to pass in the path to the license XML file. We can also potentially pass in the Sitecore admin password if we want that to be SB or SQL password. So what we need to do, I mean, you can have the license file on any directory, of course, when you initialize it. I'm copying this into the this getting started directory because then I can just use the dot for the current directory. And let's now open up this this getting started directory in a PowerShell prompt in admin mode. So now that we open up this PowerShell prompt in admin mode, we have to go to C projects, Docker examples, and then getting started. So if we look at this, we have everything in place to actually run the init script, and then populate the environment files before we can actually do start downloading the images and starting up the containers automatically. So we have to do init, and then we can pass in the license path, which will be at this location, and then we can also pass in the Sitecore admin password, which will be B. Once we run the script, it's actually going to download utilities from another GitHub project, which is called Docker Tools, I guess. And let's check that out. So the Docker examples repository is making use of this repository, Docker Tools. And these are utilities which help us with the developer experience when running Sitecore in a Docker environment. So you don't really need to know about, you need to know that this one is used, but you don't need to do anything with it in order to actually start running containers. So as you can see, Sitecore is using multiple Git repositories to actually tie everything together. So let's go back to PowerShell right now and continue with our installation. So we gave in the init script, the license XML path, and the Sitecore admin password of B. So let's run this right now. And as you can see, it's now importing the Sitecore Docker Tools project, and it will populate and generate certificates, and will populate the environment files and adding Windows host file entries. And that's it for the init script. So if we're going to look at the populated environment files, then let's maybe open up this with Visual Studio Code. And as you can see here, the init script populated the Sitecore admin password here in the environment files. It generated this encryption key for Telerik. It did encode base 64, our Sitecore license file. I have to see where the license file. It generated this ID secret. It generated these certificates. Let's see, there's a Sitecore license file here. So this is the base 64 string, and yeah, that's basically what we need in order to actually start downloading the images. And let's have a look at Docker for Windows desktop. So as you can see, this is my Docker for Windows dashboard. I don't have any containers up and running. I don't even have any images on my local disk. Once we actually start doing the Sitecore, at least the Docker Compose up files, it will start downloading all these images from the Sitecore Docker repository, and then start creating those containers and firing them up. Yeah, so make sure that you have added this DNS entry, because sometimes that's where it actually goes wrong. And I'm not using the experimental at the moment. You could switch that to true, and you have more options with Docker. So let's return back to PowerShell right now and continue with our. So now that we have everything in place, the only thing that we need to do is run a Docker compose up -d, and this will start downloading all the images from the Sitecore Docker repository. As you can see here, it's a lot of disk space that it will need to download, and this will take quite a while if you don't have any images downloaded. Yeah, so I'll probably fast forward this video. Once this is completed, it should download all the Docker images, create the containers, and spin them up. So see you in a bit. So now that it's downloaded all the images, now it's actually creating all the containers. For Sitecore 10.1, Sitecore is actually using a container called Solar init, because they are actually switched from a default Solar to a Solar Cloud based one. And that will be the only container in the end that once it's created and all the containers are up and running, that this one will actually show that it's not started correctly. But I'll go into that on the Docker dashboard later on. So now the whole script is done. The containers are created and the images are up and running. Let's have a look at the Docker dashboard, what happened. So with the Docker dashboard open, you can actually see that it downloaded all these Sitecore images for MS SQL, Solar, CM, XP, Cortex, Processing Service, XDB. It all downloaded these from the Docker repository. And we have Trafic as a proxy manager to actually handle the load. As you can see here, it doesn't look good, right? So as I mentioned, when the script is up and running, you can actually see that the Solar init script will exit in the end, but that's okay. So that is a good thing. This was a little bit weird for me initially, and it might feel weird for you as well, because you're expecting all the containers should be up and running. This was discussed on Sitecore Slack, and product manager Nick Wesselman is aware of it. But there was a long discussion on it, what we should do with this. Maybe in the future they will find a certain way to actually alert the user with a message that maybe they did everything is okay here. I don't know. Anyways, we have it up and running right now. So now let's go back to that environment file to actually see the host names, where you can actually see where the CM server lives, where the CD server lives, etc. So I open Visual Studio Code again, and in this environment file all the way at the bottom, you can actually see the hostname for the CM server. Because we're installing an XP0 topology, there is no CD server. So let's open up this in a browser and see if we can actually reach to Sitecore. So Sitecore is running with this host name. We can actually try to log in. Once by Sitecore, now identity service being requested. And since we changed the Docker installation with the Sitecore admin B password, we should be able to actually log in with admin and the password B. And that would actually conclude the end of how easy it is to get a Sitecore 10.1 XP0 topology up and running in Docker containers. So let's check this out. Admin B. And as you can see, we have this new interface in Sitecore 10.1, and we're up and running with the Sitecore Docker containers. So make sure your ports are available. And if you want to take this down, you can do a Docker compose down, or you could go to the dashboard and stop all the containers. And that's it for this video. I'm going to show you some other example videos that actually are worth a look. They take a little bit longer because this was the most simplified install, and they will go into more details. There are some good ones out there on YouTube, so I'll be showing you these in a minute. The first one is from Munaga, Sitecore 10 Developer Workstation with containers, which basically is a little bit longer, and he goes through the same process as I did, explaining more, but I wanted to keep it very short. And then there is another one on the Sitecore user group Baltics, which is a very good one as well, that actually goes into detail on this as well, by Artem Slobodinsky. Make sure to also check out my other Docker videos that I did last year with headless development, ASP.NET Core, Docker containers, explaining the architecture, and also a Helix example site. And definitely on my list is creating more Sitecore Docker videos, because there's so much knowledge out there, and I think we need more simplified videos on this. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave some comments in the comment section, and up until the next video. Bye bye.